Coming at you live from their secret location in an underwater bunker 2 miles off the Emerald Coast, it's Chimichanga Talk with your host, Deadpool Speaks.
And we're back. We're back for another round of podcasting. It is me, your host, Deadpool Speaks. And with me, as always, is the ever mighty Bad Juju. How you doing, Bad Juju?
Okay, but allergy season is here, so, you know.
And allergy season, just go ahead and kind of tamper everything. You talk too much, Juju. That's the problem.
I talk too much.
Yeah,
you keep interrupting me. You keep blah, 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 blah.
Well,
that's all
because
you do.
the thing is that you're like dripping. You're just dripping everywhere.
Everywhere.
But either way, allergy season does tend to be a problem, especially around this time. Springtime's coming in, not without some springtime storms. But, I'm actually super excited today because, believe it or not, I made a huge investment for the Chimichanga group. I bought us a Tesler. I don't know if you've ever had a Tesler. A Tesler is all computer. It's an all computer. It's like a golf cart, but just drives really fast. So if you haven't had your Tesler or gone to a Tesler dealership to check out the Tesler, which is an absolutely awesome golf cart that goes pretty fast, you want to check out our Chimichanga Talk Tesler, right? Guaranteed to go ahead and be there to use at that place, so that way people can use it whenever they want to. Tesler.
So,
and another
how much money do we have left?
The Tesla didn't cost us that much, just half of the American economy. But one great thing that can come out of all of this is, Invincible season finale. We're approaching the Severance one, but Invincible actually had its season finale just recently here. 8 episodes of just sheer amazingness. Are you watching Invincible, Bad Juju?
Yeah. I of course I read the comics and then I finally got to the show after taking forever. But yeah, I finally got to watching it, and I'll say the finale is gorgeous. It is amazing.
It is stupendous. Basically written. The comic was written and penned by the amazing person who brought us, Robert Kirkman, who brought us The Walking Dead. Along the same vein there, just kind of taking that superhero story and kind of just working it into this amazing crafted twistedness that is like his mind. So absolutely exciting. So check it out. Only 8 episodes this time. I think that's kind of like what's been the norm, right? Like most seasons are kind of cutting it short. This is kind of doing what the British did.
But long episodes, but short episode count. So I guess
No. Yeah, I know you're dying there.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we did see our first look at the trailer for Lilo and Stitch.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty cool. I grew up with not necessarily grew up, but a lot of people here did kind of grow up with Lilo and Stitch being a staple of like Disney movies. It was a really fun kind of ride. It actually, fun fact for those people who like Disney, the Lilo and Stitch ride, which took over in Epcot, right, used to be like an alien ride, right? So it used to be like this, like you were trapped into this alien space. So what wound up happening is the guy who was in the video for the Disney shoot, right, was the same guy who played Lydia's father in Beetlejuice, right? And he was really popular at the time. He played the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And that actor, which was written off from Beetlejuice 2 by having him, suffer that shark attack, unfortunately did some unspeakable things and had some unspeakable stuff on a hard drive in his home computer, which made him disappear from Hollywood, which then Disney had to cover up. So Disney went ahead and created the Lilo and Stitch ride using the same kind of technology. They just replaced the nice cover up. No one noticed anything.
Yeah.
replaced the whole aspect of the alien that's inside this tube, because basically, if you've never ridden the ride, you're sitting in kind of like in a chamber, and it used like I guess 4D elements with things kind of going around you, great sound, so it makes you think that this alien has escaped from this pod. Well, in the ride, you believe that Stitch has escaped from the pod. And there was a lot of people being real kind of wishy-washy whether they were going to like all these live action Disney movies that they're trying to do.
I mean, I get
But
it because some of them are, hit or miss, but that's usually Disney. That's Disney as a whole.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
really do enjoy how it looks. I think it's
yeah, I
gonna
think
be a
it's gonna
fun
look.
movie. And the one thing
It really is.
a lot of people need to realize about when it comes to live action, it's introducing these stories to newer generations to be able to watch in theaters. Just not the
Hmm.
same one, which is, sad, but still, they were going to be able to watch that and hopefully watch the anime, the original, after.
And
So,
can I find a new love? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Because that's one thing that I really, really love to be on the soundtrack of the original Lilo and Stitch, was their use of just really good Elvis songs. So I do appreciate that. And sticking with movie news, I know that one thing that I was kind of like shocked by that just dropped recently was Peter Dinklage's like vestige as the Toxic Avenger. So they finally released these profile pictures, and I believe there's also like a poster floating around there somewhere.
Just 15 minutes ago.
Entertainment, yeah, yeah, an Entertainment Weekly first look pictures of the Toxic Avenger, which has been kind of like in film limbo for quite a while, is actually finally seeing the light of day, which I'm excited for. I know that the films, Troma films, are a little campy. They're not for everybody,
But
but
it's a fun movie.
yeah.
So
Oh
it's
yeah.
movies are meant to be enjoyed. It's fun. It's a fun movie. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with this reboot and see
Oh
if they're
yeah.
gonna keep to the original and keep everything the same, just making it more
Yeah. So and
sparkly.
what's interesting is, yeah, they went with more practical effects, which is fantastic. It's exactly how what Troma did before. And in one of the images, we actually get to see the famous mop, which like the mop really took life in the cartoon series, the Toxic Crusaders, which was like a Saturday morning cartoon, which is weird because here you have this like rated R, really kind of B campy, straight to video horror movie, that went ahead and became a children's cartoon. Go 80s. Yeah.
Don't judge a book by its
Just like
cover.
we had cartoons of RoboCop, cartoons of Rambo. Hey,
I think
so
RoboCop could be like decent, but like, why Rambo? He's just
well, they toned down RoboCop. The third one was actually toned down quite a bit. I think it got a PG-13 rating, but the
yeah.
first two were definitely rated R. The first one was borderline X-rated due to the large amounts of gore that there was. But good film either way. I'd buy that for $1. But I feel bad for Juju. Bad Juju's always this always happens every spring. Just a tremendous allergy. There you go. You look normal. It's okay. And one other thing that we wanted to talk about as well, which we thought was really cool, was the fact that Dead by Daylight, right? Dead
Oh
by
yeah.
Daylight, which is a video game, speaking of horror, video game that kind of introduces and does a lot of collaborations and partnerships with like strange IPs. Actually is doing a really kind of bizarre one, kind of leaning more towards the anime side. And you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, Tokyo Ghoul. What's his name?
Yep,
Ken something. I can't remember his last name. Someone remember, or
Ken
like I'll put it
Kenki, right? The
somewhere
face of
somewhere
fear.
up here. We're gonna do that
Mhm.
again. It's somewhere there. That name, you know. Uh,
Exactly. And
and that's interesting.
you played Dead by Daylight, right?
Yeah, I played it for a long time now, near since its release, and it's really cool to see it kind of piece together all these collaborations. You have
Hmm.
Chucky, you have the Ring. I can't remember her name right now from the top of my head. It always
Hmm.
gets me. You have all these collaborations, and now you're bringing in more Japanese media because they already had Resident
Yeah.
Evil. They had Resident Evil, which but Tokyo
Hmm.
Ghoul was kind of that one was
A little bit more
uh
offbeat, but
yeah, but it looks cool. I haven't played it yet, but it looks really cool. I hope they kind of venture out to those more weirder sides more often. Not weirder sides, but
mhm.
more like, why is this here? Like soon we're
Yeah,
gonna be
and
getting a, oh,
no, soon you're going to be getting what?
soon we're gonna be getting a Five Nights at Freddy's, which is the one that everyone's been hoping for. Coming, something's coming up in May. They're gonna announce like a full trailer and finally show what they're gonna be bringing in for that IP. So that's really exciting to always kind of see all that stuff get pieced together live.
Yeah, and what's cool is for those fans who like are board heads, right? Which is I guess my brand new term for people who play board games. I don't know if that's a legitimate term, but
It
stick
works.
to my guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dead by Daylight actually has a board game. And we were lucky enough to be part of their Kickstarter campaign, and we have the Dead by Daylight board game, which is a very large board game and
Yeah.
a really cool looking board game. So if you guys didn't know that, want to have a game night away from the computer, but still want to go ahead and kind of kill your friends, kill them with kindness and some good rhetoric on a table, right? This is not going to go well. So, but no, yeah, kill them in a board game, not in real life. Please, we do not condone that. Here at Chimichanga Talk, remember, home of where you can come and test out our Tesler, its computer.
Please buy it.
Um, Please buy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we're almost completely rented out of chickens, just to let you know. And pretty soon, we'll be renting out what we call Chimichanga Gator eggs, right? The Chimichanga Gator egg.
You never told me
It's
about
like,
our investments.
well, that's
You-
because we kind of funnel it and through a very special account that used to be called your college account. All
What?
right. So we have a lot of amazing guests that are going to be coming up pretty soon here, just to kind of let you know, that, yes, your college money is gone. Um, Next week, we're actually going to go ahead and kind of get back into the rotation. We're going to have Josh Holland, who is the marketing director at the Mobile Explorium, which it's really cool because I'm really excited about him as a guest because he does kind of put together all these really cool ideas for a museum, like their exhibits and stuff like that. So it gives us a really cool behind the scenes look. He's won awards for his commercials for like a Genghis Khan exhibit. Just really cool stuff. So if you ever wanted to know the inner workings of kind of like what goes on, you kind of disappear and then come right back. It's like taking a deep breath. And then we have other wonderful people in the works. Some really cool stuff that I'm excited about. Like I said, we do have a comedian that's going to be visiting our show, who is kind of like a Renaissance man as well. Through everything there that he does. Um, we also have an amazing power couple actors coming on. So, always like and subscribe. Try to stay tuned to everything
Uh-oh.
that's every Sunday. You okay there?
No, you weren't okay. You you had a bit of a buffer, so repeat the last 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. We have a lot of really cool, amazing guests. So remember to like and subscribe. To go ahead and make sure that you're part of the Chimichanga Talk family. And, we like to hear from you. Leave us comments. We definitely do go ahead and kind of take everything to heart. If you listen to us while you're drawing and having waffles, or, whether you're coming up with ridiculous conspiracy theories, we definitely like to go ahead and interact with you. Remember, we have our Facebook page, we have our Instagram, we do have TikTok. I believe I have a Snapchat, but it's it's hard to keep up with all this stuff. But
You gotta be
either way,
modern.
hmm either way, know that we're excited to go ahead and have you be part of our big family here at Chimichanga Talk. All right. And next up, we're going to have an amazing guest. Let's go ahead and kind of bring up now. So I'm going to do the whole jazz hands and then dang it. It
Whoa!
almost worked. It almost. All right, folks, and we're back. And here's the thing. I have someone with me. He was actually on the initial first start of Chimichanga Talk, right? When we first started many, many eons ago, as one would say, light years possibly.
Many moons.
When we first got our start, many moons, yes. And he is an absolutely talented writer, award-winning writer, right? Of much fiction, as well as he's done little roles on films and TV. He is a convention staple, a big smiling face of a person that you'd want to go ahead and meet and talk about all sorts of geeky topics of. The absolutely amazing and talented Bobby Nash. How's it going, Bobby?
Oh, it's so good to be back. Yes, I fond memories of that original one. My hair was darker.
Yeah. There was
Yes,
a lot less COVID in the air.
yeah.
Um,
A lot less.
I think I had, I certainly didn't have all this, and yeah, this is.
we had
I apologize for this in advance because this is for a movie role that films next week. So,
No, it's fine.
or
'Cause,
actually a TV role. I know. It looks
I mean,
terrible.
a
And
beard.
it's,
A beard usually
yeah.
signifies a long
I
time.
have
So
no clue what
Yeah.
you're talking
Well,
about.
look,
So
mine is supposed to be like it's untrimmed and unkempt for the role, because it's supposed to look that way. So it's like it's awful.
it's all good. Like I said, either way, it fits the it's been a long time. Now you have a little
Mhm.
beard. It's all stubble. We just pulled you back
Yeah.
out from the cryo's
Yep.
chamber we had you.
Yeah, the hair is a lot lighter than it was back then.
it's more salt than pepper this time, but
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
but that's okay.
That's what a writing career will do to you.
Yeah. Oh God! Now I'm already seeing it for myself.
Take
Now-
a good look at your future.
Well, there you go. Drinking from a red Stanley cup.
It's either going to be your hair's either going to get very gray, or you're going to lose it because you're doing this a lot and pulling your hair out.
It's probably gonna be a mix.
So-
I'm gonna have that kind of cut where I only have hair, like from right here, full
Yeah,
bald
just right-
hair. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna be like. Like probably the next 20 years.
I'm because based on my family, I'm pretty happy I still have hair up here. Because my dad is pretty empty on the top. My brother, who was younger than me, was bald on top. So it kind of jumped me. So I'm like, at least I have hair. I'm happy about that. So
It's all them stories that you got brewing up. It keeps the hair follicles growing. That's the
it's
thing.
all that manure in my brain, is what you're saying. It's keeping that.
Well, you said it, not I.
Yeah.
Like,
Now,
I know what thoughts are going on up there.
There you go. Now, Bobby, it's like it's really interesting because you've written a lot, right, from different genres, but like your kind of like niche and kind of go to. Besides, well, I mean, when you're talking about like actual novels, right? You see it right back there, Snow, like it would be considered pulp fiction, right?
Some of it, I mean, like the stuff on the walls behind me is technically more like crime thrillers and mystery thrillers. I do a
Hmm.
lot of pulp stuff. And there's a pulpy element to all of mine because I write a lot of stuff with action
Hmm.
adventure to them. Even these crime thrillers have an action quotient to them.
Hmm.
But I started out doing comics. That was what I did first, was comics. And after doing comics for a few years, and I still do comics. I love comics. I love writing comics. But I decided I wanted to write a novel. And so I wrote one, and it was horrible, but I wrote one and I finished it. And finishing it, other authors have told me this over the time too, is like one of the biggest things you can do to boost your morale as an author or any creator, anything, finish a project.
Hmm.
And so I finished it, and like I said, it was horrible. I think everybody's first novel sucks. Um, but that feeling of accomplishment made me want to do it again. So I wrote another novel, which turned out to be Evil Ways,
Hmm.
which I ended up being the first published novel. I sold it. It took me about 6 months to write it, at least the first draft. I tinkered with it over the 6 years it took me to sell it.
Hmm.
Um, and so I found a publisher that liked it. They picked it up. Horrible publisher, it turned out. Um, awful, awful experience. Um, yeah, it was. They were terrible.
Your first
They don't
publisher is
exist
always bad.
anymore. Yeah, they don't exist anymore, but they were horrible. But I had a 7-year contract. So they had the book for 7 years, but I had a published book in my hand. So I took that book to other publishers. Look, I've written a book. Because when you're talking, and this was before do it yourself was a thing, you know, an
Yeah.
acceptable thing. I mean, it existed, that you didn't. It was not looked favorably upon like it is today. And
Hmm.
so I was taking that book. I would take my comics and my novel, and I could show them to publishers and editors and whatnot. Because it's if you go up to an editor or a publisher at a con or however you talk to them and you introduce yourself and say, "Hi, I'm Bobby. I'm a writer." The very first thing they're going to say is, "What have you written?" And
Hmm.
if your answer is, "Well, I'm working on my first," you can literally see the glaze like go over their eyes.
You mean like how Juju looks right now? It's just the
Like,
glaze over his
yeah.
eye.
So, but if you say, "Hi," if they ask you, "What have you done?" and you put a book in their hand, you've bought yourself a minute. And so I took the crappy book I had, and it had a different cover than that too. That's the one after I got the rights back and re-released it myself. Um, I had a book. You buy a minute because you give them the book. They're going to look at the cover. They're going to look at the back cover. They're going to open it up and maybe read a paragraph or so. You've bought yourself a minute, and there's some kind of respectability in that, having you finish something.
Hmm.
Because if you talk to publishers and editors, one of the biggest problems they have with new people, people that get their first start, is a lot of people flame out. They've never had to actually meet a deadline, or so those are things that they know you can meet a deadline. They know you'll finish what you started. That kind of stuff. That is almost as important as how you write, or how you draw, or how you whatever. Is, can you do the job part of it? I don't know
Hmm.
if I got off on a tangent there. I don't know if I
No,
answered
no,
the
no, no, no,
question
no, no.
at all.
No, 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 no. Actually, that's great because the thing is that I think you come up from a place where you didn't have the ease of self-publishing
Yeah,
when you first got started. So you had to kind of discover all that as technology kind of was doing what you naturally wanted to do. Because like a lot of people would say, like when they look back, right, you had to have a publicist, you had to have an agent, someone to
yeah.
push your stuff.
And I have
But
never had any success finding an agent. I mean, I don't have one now. I can't find an agent who has said we can we can find you work, or we can get your work into a publisher.
Mhm.
I have over 200 published credits, and even now I have agents going, "You're not sellable."
Oof.
So
Really?
yeah. And really, these days, I mean, an agent is nice for the big publishers. There's like what, 4 of them left.
Mhm.
Most
If that.
publishers outside of those, you know, will look at your stuff without an agent. Most will. But yeah, it would be nice to be at a bigger publisher. So my books would be in Walmart and the grocery store and the airport, and that would be nice. But yeah, it's because when I started, like you said, and you're right. When I started, there was no, yeah. If you printed them on by yourself, one, they were supremely expensive.
Mhm.
A novel would have cost like 30, $40, which nobody's going to buy that from nobody they've never heard of. So doing it yourself was not an option. Um, so yeah, so there was a lot of those type of things where you were beholden to other people to get your work in front of people, and it it was tough. There were gatekeepers. I mean, they seemed it seemed like no was their go-to answer, and
Yeah.
it's difficult. It was difficult to break through that wall. And like even after I got my first professional sale on a comic book, my second one, it was like starting all over again. It's not just, oh, you did one thing, you're in the club. It was not that easy. So there was a lot of, yeah, it's a lot of frustration, a lot of, you know, and sometimes it feels like begging, please read my stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, a lot of getting out, meeting people, a lot of networking, a lot of that stuff. And yes, if I had a crystal ball back then, when I was in high
Mhm.
school or when I started college, if I'd have had a crystal ball, I would have taken more business classes, because basically I run a small business,
Gotcha.
and I've learned I've learned most of what I know about my running my small business by screwing stuff up, because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a plan. I didn't, because, I was naive enough to think, I just want to write stories. I don't care about this
Yeah.
other stuff. Somebody else's job. Well, turns out I was wrong.
That
It's
job is yours.
That's my job. And marketing is my job. Even if you're working for publishers, marketing is my job. Uh, Promotion is my job. Book, if I want to do a book tour, my job. If I
Yeah.
anything, um and sometimes even with publishers, some publishers are great about this. They let you have input on the cover. Most of the time we're writing our own back cover copy. Sometimes
Mhm.
some publishers do it, but most of the time we're doing it, or we have some input on covers, which is nice. Sometimes you
Yeah.
don't. Sometimes covers come out and you go like, "Oh, that's what the cover looks like." Oh, I wish I had a copy of the original Evil Ways cover. I would show you. I don't have it handy, but it's horrible. They, I remember they asked, what are you interested in on a cover? And being my first one, I was all gung ho because it's a suspense thriller. People are
Mhm.
dying, and a lot of it takes place inside uh, a state park in a forest. There's a lot of the outdoor stuff. So I went out in my backyard with a camera, and I climbed up in a tree. And it was winter, so there were no leaves. It was just the branches. And so I'm filming into the tree while I'm in the tree and getting all these branches. And I went into the computer and I mixed them so that they were like I was adding pictures on top of each other. So it was just this gnarly looking thing of these branches doing all this. And then I put this blood red background behind it. So it's black with this blood red in the background. And I put Evil Ways in big letters, big broken letters, and then my name at the bottom. And they were like, oh, that's good. The book comes out. The book has a brown cover with pink and tan polka dots on it, and Evil Ways in tiny pink letters. and, and I was horrified, mystified, terrified,
Eh,
all
eh,
kind of fied.
All the fides, yeah.
All the fides, and it was just like, ugh. And I said, "What the hell, guys?" And they were like, "That's what we wanted to do." And I'm like,
what?
So
How they twist that around? Like, all right, red and big letters. So let's go for small. Little bright colors, little polka
Yeah.
dots, a little cutesy. It's
Bring them
called
in,
Evil
let them read
Ways.
the actual. They had to pick up the book to actually read it.
well, and one of the things they told me was because the big, I was like, I could live with the polka dots. Why is the title so freaking small? And they came
Yeah.
back and says, well, you don't put the title and the author's name very big on books. And I'm like, have you been in a bookstore?
Yeah.
About like
Right.
70% of books have big lettering and maybe like a little
Yeah.
one or a big of the author. I don't.
One of the earliest lessons I remember learning, and I don't remember where, it was an art class. If you're doing a book cover, and this was before Amazon and all that stuff, if you're doing a book cover, the most successful ones, when you walk in the bookstore and you see that book way over there on the shelf, you can read the title. And I
Yeah.
took that to heart. Like if you see evil, you can tell that says Evil Ways from across the room.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and so I was like confused by it. And it works especially now when you're doing things like buying stuff off online retailers. Everything's a
Mhm.
tiny, thumbnail. And so when you look at the thumbnail, you need to be able to read the title on that 1 inch tall thumbnail. So that's, yeah. So that was, like I said, I learned a lot from that first publishing experience. There's a lot of red flags that I didn't realize were red flags at the time that I now recognize. So if something happens, oh, okay. So yeah.
Like what? I'm curious. What are these red flags?
Well,
Describe
if
some of these things.
they don't listen to you is one thing.
Uh-huh.
They start to, they and you know I realize now there was next to no editing, which
Mhm.
was another red flag. If they come back and they're just like, "Oh, that's perfect," and I'm like, "Okay, I'd love to think everything I write is gold, but I know better." Um, Things like this, just an unprofessional error, or just there's a lot of little things like that. It's just stuff you pick up on, and you're like, you look at
Like a
their
gut
other,
feeling.
yeah, you look at their other books. How have they done other books? And of course now, as a writer or creator of any time, if you're interested in publishers because of social media, it's easy to look and see who else they've published. Go to their Facebook page and say, "Can I ask you a question? How was this publisher to work with?" And sometimes you'll get run far, run fast. And then other times you'll get, no, they were great. I loved them. These people, they did this, and so that helps, and you can kind of get a sense of what you're getting into. I didn't have that when I sold. I sold Evil Ways in 2004. It came out in 2005. It came out August of 2005. Um, and so I was still coming off just where I'd worked for some comics publishers. I was still very naive in how the industry worked. And I had a couple of scammer type things try to get me before that. That
Mm.
luckily I realized what it was, and because that first novel, which was crap, I did submit it before I realized it was crap, to some publishers, and one actually came back and says, "We want your book," and I'm like, "That's awesome! I'm so excited!" And then they sent me the contract, and as I'm reading the contract, in the fine print was, "You will pay us $15,000," and I was like, "No, I will
Whoa.
not pay you $15,000."
Whoa.
For
That's scary.
$15,000, I can do this book myself. And two, I don't have $15,000. Um, so yeah, so there are scammers out there. The publisher I worked for wasn't a scammer, but they were just not good. They didn't put
Yeah.
any effort. I mean, I kind of they were. They didn't put any effort into anything. And then there were later some things that came out that they weren't paying people right, and then they went away. So I was just like, you know what, fine. That's why the
Well, I
sequel
mean,
to Evil Ways didn't come out till 11 years later, because I had to wait. Because if I'd have done it during that 7 years, they had first right
they got the rights
to
to it.
the
Yeah,
sequel,
you had to wait
and
till
I was
that
like,
contract was up,
yeah, and I was like, you're not touching anything else of mine.
and it would be too difficult to become a symbol like Prince to get away from a contract, huh?
Hmm.
So the artist formerly known as Bobby Nash.
Yeah, there are ways to get out of contracts, but most times
Mhm.
no. A lot of times, and you know what? It wasn't worth the hassle I would have had to go through.
Yeah.
Um, so but I used it to my advantage. Like I said, I had that book in my hand, and using that book, I was able to go to other publishers and get work. You know, Evil Ways. Because of Evil Ways, I ended up doing the Lance Starr short stories, the
Short
pulp
story
stories.
series.
That's where I kind
Mhm.
of got into the pulp stuff. And that was a direct result of Ron Fortier reading Evil Ways and saying, "Hey, you kind of write in this style. Would you like to do these
Mhm.
these things?" And then that led to other short stories, short pieces with other like public domain characters,
Mhm.
which then led me to Domino Lady, doing a
Mhm.
Domino Lady story. I still write Lance Starr and Domino Lady to this day.
Mhm.
Um, so they have become what, 20 years. 20
Mhm.
years, I'm still writing those two characters. Um, I still, I just wrote the character from Evil Ways. He guest starred in one of the Sheriff Myers books in a scene. So that kind of stuff. And so
So,
that one thing leads to another. Yeah.
and it because the thing is, one thing that I love about you, Bobby, is that you do cover like a huge aspect of kind of things, but find ways to kind of meld everything together in some kind of Bobby Nash universe, right? As a writer, right? And the thing is, the reason why I say this is because you do, like you said, you're your own marketer, you know.
Hmm.
So through Facebook, through Patreon, you do go ahead and kind of give people the accessibility to kind of see what you're working on as a writer, kind of little teases and just a great kind of like little build up to your next work. But at the same time, you help us understand that you're like a real person, that you have a lot of things, and I'm just right over your shoulder. There's no more focus, right? Because you have this thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to
Oh yeah,
reward
yeah,
myself. You even posted that last, like, I think it was last
yeah.
night. Yeah, do more focus. There you go. Where you're like, I'm going to reward myself with watching this TV show, or I'm going to reward
Mm.
myself with a sweet treat. I did this much. And I think what you said it very early on was the key here, where you go, they want to make sure that if you're going to publish anything, if you're going to do anything, that you get it done, that you have it complete, that you can fit a timeline. Um, Working for yourself, having to get out of bed and said, today, I don't feel like writing, it can come very easily as
Oh yeah.
like the storm. How do you overcome that? How do you like keep pushing yourself? I mean, beyond kind of like when you hit those roadblocks, you know?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Early on, and I don't remember who told me this. I wish I did. I early on, because I do a lot of conventions, and so over the years I've got to meet a lot of creative people, very successful creative people. I'm not so successful, but I've learned things from talking to other creators. And someone once told me that if you want to write as your job, you want that to be your career, then you have to
Mhm,
treat it like a job. You have to do it like when you work a corporate job, you get up every day, you go to the office, you have to be there at a certain time, you have to leave at
mhm.
a certain time. There's structure to that. And because a lot of times, because as a creator, it's easy to say, I'll write when I feel like writing, I'll write when the muse hits.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that if writing for you is a hobby or something you do on the side or part time. But if you want to write for a career, I can't wait for the Muse. There are
Mhm.
so I've trained myself. It's now just if I walk into, because my office is in this huge room, which is also my living room. So over there, that's where the recliner and the TV are. It's library of sorts over there. It looks like a library exploded over there. There are books everywhere. And then this section is my office. And then across the hall is my bedroom. So my commute is simple from the bedroom across the hall into here. But I've trained myself two things that are very helpful for me getting to sit down and work every day. The TV does not come on during the daytime.
Mhm.
If I turn the TV on, I am probably done. Um, so the TV does not come on until dinner time. I watch some TV while I'm eating dinner. That is a big, because I'll just watch one TV show while I eat lunch is a fallacy. I'll be there 3 or 4
Yeah.
hours because there's always one
Yeah.
more thing. Oh, let me see what's on YouTube. Let me see what. Yeah. Oh, one more
Yeah.
episode won't hurt. Next thing you know, you've been there 4 hours. The other thing is I've trained myself when I come into this room, the first thing I do is go right to the desk and sit down. It's an instinctual thing at this point. And so I sit
Mhm.
down. Now I get on here and I fall down let me play a game of solitaire, or let me get on Facebook, or let me get on YouTube, or yeah, I dick
You
around that way too.
sidetrack. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I
happens.
yes, but I'm at the desk, so I've been doing this a while, so I've got it down to a bit of a science now. I have lists of what's to do projects that are due, deadlines when it needs to be done, and I've got because I work for multiple publishers, so there's a lot of juggling. I do the
Mhm.
stuff I do myself, but I also have assignments for other publishers. So those have hard deadlines, whereas most of
Mhm.
my stuff is a little more flexible around those deadlines, with the exception of the stuff I do. I do the serialized books on Patreon.
Mhm.
I need to have a chapter in a week.
Yeah.
So that's a hard deadline. I'm going to put out, like right now I'm doing two of them. One I'm writing, the other I had done for a publisher, and I just got the rights back. It didn't it ended up not coming out. So it's
Mhm.
written. And so I'm doing my edit pass and second pass on it before it goes to an editor, making corrections and changes. So I'm doing a chapter of edits on that one a week, but I'm writing the next snow book, which I'm actually writing a chapter a week. So I'm doing two right now, which is if I was writing two, that gets a bit tough. But I'm doing that around other deadlines, and so
Mhm.
structuring my day. Um, because, like I said, or I take care of my dad. So my dad and I are together, and so we go out and have lunch, run errands and stuff during the day. Like usually that's what I'd be doing right now as we're recording this. Um, but and then I come in after that, and usually it's about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock before I go to work.
Mm.
Um, and I work until through the day, until dinner. I go cook dinner, watch a little TV. I do the artwork stuff I do at night, after
Mhm.
dinner, and then some. Then I'll come back to the office to the computer, and I'll write 1, 2 in the morning, watch a little TV, and go to bed. That's kind of how my generally is structured.
Mm.
If you're on a tight deadline, I can adjust things. Maybe don't do artwork, and I do a little extra time at the computer, or hey, I can't, you know, I'm on a deadline. We can't ride as much today. I need to be home earlier to work. So there's a lot of flexibility that way.
Yeah.
But that's my
Yeah.
that's my I've learned to do that. So, but yeah, that whole, if you want it to be your career, you have to treat it like a job, was an eye opener for me.
Mm.
Because I realized, you know what, this is a job. Um, Writing, because when it was a hobby, you wrote when you felt like it. If you didn't feel like it, you didn't do it, and you didn't care. You know,
Mhm.
Now if there's a night, and I take time off. I mean, I do take scheduled time off, or Some friends want to go have dinner and catch a movie. Great. I'll work a little more today because I know tomorrow I'm going out. Things like that. So there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And as long as you meet those deadlines, you have some flexibility. But I know what I can do a day. I know realistically how much work I can get done a day. Um, I know all that. So that helps me when it comes time to going, oh, I can't do that by when you need it. Whereas used to, it'd be like, oh, you want me to write something? No problem. And it's like, holy crap, how am I going to get this done? Now I can go, that project sounds fun. There's no way I can meet that deadline, so I'll have to pass. And sometimes publishers will go, well, we really want you. If we move the deadline to here, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But that learning how to do that was a big learning skill for me. Because it was hard. It's hard to say no.
It's hard to say
There's
no, but you gotta like balance your plate on.
Well, you
because I mean, you want to do every creative opportunity you get. You're like, this is a great opportunity. This could launch anything, especially when you're working by yourself, right?
Yeah, and there's this little voice in the back of your head that goes, if you say no, they're never going to ask again.
Yeah, we've all been there.
There is that fear of, if I say no, they're going to get mad and they're going to say, that guy, and never again. And, and that's not the case. And most of the time they understand. I mean, it's not like you just go, no, you explain, I can't, I've got these, or, hey, we want you to do this. And I'm like, great, I can't start on that for 6 months. Is that okay? And if they're like, sure, then we'll put it on the schedule. If they're like, no, I need it now. And I'm like, I just can't do it. I physically can't do it. And I've had to say no to a couple of projects that, it kills me that I had to say no to. One was a tie-in for like a wonderful, like a comic character I love. And they wanted a novel, but they wanted it within a month. And I was in the middle of two other deadlines. And I was like, I can't do it. And there was no wiggle room on their part. So I had to say no. And it kills me to this day because it's like, man, I always wanted to write that character. But, but if I said yes, I would have blown the deadline. The publisher
and it wouldn't have been what you would. Yeah, it wouldn't have been what you would have wanted. You wouldn't have been able to take the time.
Yeah, and you don't want to. You don't want to be the guy that messes the schedule up. You don't want to be the guy that screws up the character, or you don't want to be the guy that causes headaches. Because when I talk to editors and publishers, I don't want to say, "Hi, I'm Bobby Nash," and they go, "Ugh." You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want you don't want their first reaction when they hear your name is to go, "Oh, that guy." So I put a lot of work into trying to make myself palatable to them, where if I say, if I say, hey, do you need, I would love to pitch you something. They will like, oh, okay, that guy's not bad, and so at least I hope so. I mean, they still most of them still take my calls, so I must be doing some part of it right.
Yeah, you're getting some part. They're happy with you. They're happy.
Yeah.
No.
And you do it, and when you make relationships with publishers, it does become, I don't know if easier is the right word, but there's less steps.
It makes it like you have more I wouldn't say wiggle room, but you have more like places to go, and like you have more.
Well, and sometimes they'll just come to you.
Yeah.
I've worked with some publishers, and they'll come back and it's like, hey, we need a Zorro story. Are you interested in doing a Zorro story? Absolutely. What's the deadline? And so sometimes they're coming to me, which takes that part of me submitting stuff or me reaching out and going, please read my stuff, So that is nice when people come to you and say, hey, we want to give you money. We want you to write something. That's a great feeling. And so I've cultivated over the 20, 30 years I've been doing this. Some publishers have got to where they go, oh, we like that guy. We'll keep bringing him back. And so So that's kind of part of the behind the scenes stuff of doing it is the business side, which it took me a while to learn because I was very naive. It's like, oh, I'll sell a story and I'm in for life, and that's not how it works. Even now, there are publishers that won't take my call, or I'm not big enough or well known enough or whatever. I'm
Mhm.
not whatever enough that they're looking for. So, yeah, it's every time you deal with a new publisher, it's like starting over from scratch. And I mean, you have a resume behind you, but a lot of times it's not how much you've worked that they're looking at. It's how you are to work with. Um,
Yeah.
when one, are you going to meet your deadlines? Are you going to finish it? Are you going to be a problem in the editing stage? Because there's and I was kind of like this early on. It's like, why are they making all these changes to my story? Are you easy to edit? Are you easy to get along with? Are you combative? Or again, you don't want them to go, oh, I don't want to deal with that guy. Those are kind of things that I learned going on, and part of it's watching other people. I have met some absolutely fantastic creators over the years doing conventions or conferences and whatnot. And the ones that I was really impressed with, I would study them. This probably sounds creepy now, but I would study them from like afar and go, what does that guy do that makes me enjoy talking to him? What does that guy do that gives him this line around the convention center?
Mhm.
What does she do that makes people like buying her book? And I would watch and I would study other creators that I liked, and I would see what they would do, and I would go like, what they're doing, and I see why they're and it's not like you're not being disingenuous, but you're
Yeah.
you learn how to talk to people. Like when because technically doing a con, you're a salesman. But what
Yeah.
kind of salesman do you want to be? Do you want to be the used car guy? And I'm not that guy. I am not a hard sell kind of guy. I don't do it well. I don't do it comfortably. And I don't want that, I don't like people like barking at me when I try to, so I'm
Hmm.
more of the come in, take a look, get to know me. And I find that talking to people from that respect helps a lot with when I do events and people come up and they can talk to me. And there's a lot of stuff I do that way. Like I remember early on for me at conventions even before Evil Ways came out, or when I was doing comics, I would go to some creators at cons and I would ask questions. And for the most part, most were very kind and would answer the questions or give me some advice. Others were not so. There were a few that were not. And I made the decision kind of at that point because I remember what it felt like when to be just dismissed, you know,
Yeah.
that if someone asked me a question, I would answer it. If
Yep.
people come up and want to, hey, I'm interested in doing comics. Great. What do you want to know? And I'll tell
Hmm.
them what I know. I don't sugarcoat it. I give them the bad parts too, yes,
Yeah.
self-publishing a book is not going to make you rich. Um, don't do this for
Yeah.
the money. Because for every one of us that makes it big, there's 1,000 like me who's going like, well, I'm eating a bologna sandwich, and at my desk while I'm so yeah, so there's a lot of that learning how to talk to people and how to present yourself and getting over shyness. I mean, it's hard. I know right now you guys are thinking, I wish you'd shut up. But
No,
back
no,
in the
you're.
early days,
No, no, actually,
Hey,
that's
and
that's really true because a lot of people who are like the creative types or have like are very introverted.
mhm,
They tell their stories, and this is something that I've seen. It's like they say a lot of comedians usually suffer from depression and kind of have that release of, getting their endorphins from kind of sharing these satirical, what they find hilarious. So it's like I've seen a lot of writers that are very introverted. I mean, they're wonderful people, but they're the type of people that if you saw them in a library, they would be tucked away in a corner, deep in a book, than sitting at a table full of people socializing.
Oh, absolutely.
So what you're saying is very um, inspirational to those who would listen and be like, I'm trying to write this story, because you said it right off the bat. You're like, oh, look, well, what have you done? That's the first question anybody's going to ask you.
Yeah.
You're like, even if it's terrible, approach them with something.
Yeah.
Have like the game plan. And I think the biggest thing that you said that just like, it just is like a tremendous light bulb that just went off is like, yeah, you got to learn about business, because you are your own promoter. You are your own digital artist. You're the one who's creating this story from beginning to end. And now with the ability of self-publishing, I mean, no one's going to promote you like you, except for your mom, maybe, or your family.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah,
Sometimes.
but sometimes they don't promote you in the way you want them to.
No.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But with that sense being like, you have to be your own cheerleader. And I think it's really fascinating what you said, that you were kind of like watching everybody else and kind of learning from them, because that's like the whole reason that we built Chimichanga Talk, was to talk to other people to understand, hey, listen, it's not all glitz and glam. It's not all like, oh, this is super easy.
Right. All that said, though, I love this job. I have quit jobs that paid better. I love this job. This job has allowed me not only to work from home and to be creative. This job has allowed me to travel. This job has allowed me to meet people. I have met lifelong friends, people that I know that when we're in the old folks' home, the old writers' home, I've got these. I know that these people will still be right there. And I've met tons of people. Well, how long have we known each other? It's been a long time
since
now.
2013.
Yeah, it's been a while. So, and we met because of this, and so I've met some wonderful, truly wonderful people. I've had experiences that I would not have had otherwise. I've traveled to places I probably never would have gone for any other reason. So I mean, there's a lot of bonuses that have come out of this job. And hey, let's not overlook the fact that there are people out there that on a fairly regular basis tell you how much they love something you've written, or they're fans. The weirdest feeling in the world is when you discover you have fans.
Yeah.
Because it truly
It's
is
true.
weird, when someone comes up to you and goes, "Oh my God, I read your book." And as weird as that is, when someone famous tells you, "I loved your book,"
Yeah.
that freaks you out. He's no longer with us, so it's probably okay to tell this story because it's not a bad story. So one day I get an email from Brian Augustine, who had written The Flash and Batman,
Yeah.
and he wrote Gotham by Gaslight. He's written
Mhm.
one of the best Batman stories of all time. And so I get an email, and I don't know Brian. I don't think we'd ever met. And so I get an email from him, and I open it up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm working on my first novel, and I read Evil Ways and loved it, and I have some questions about writing a novel." And I'm like, "And your first thought was me?"
Well, there you go.
Like, dude, you wrote one of the best Batman books in the ever. What am I going to tell you about writing? But yeah, but stuff like that was fun, or But I've met some wonderful people as a result of this. I've made good friends, good contacts. I've gotten to work with some fantastic people as a result, Um, and all of that stuff plays together. Like we talked earlier about you're doing your own marketing. I've been offered like gigs before, for like anthologies or things like that, and they're like, okay, you have secured a place. You're going to be in the book. You still have to pitch them something that they can use,
Mhm.
but it's like you have a secured spot, and I'm like, okay, not to rock the boat, but why do I have a secure spot? And he says, because you're going to promote the book, and I can't guarantee that everybody else will, but I know you'll promote the book, and so you're in. So I stack all my anthologies with at least five writers I know will promote the book, and then everybody
Yeah.
else, you hope they will, because not everybody does. But yeah, but you were talking about the introverted thing. Yes, when I was very very early in my career, I was very quiet, very shy, and two things really helped me a lot to get over that. I took while I was writing Evil Ways, I took this night course at the University of Georgia, one of those non-credit courses,
Mhm.
A creative writing course, and it was called Murder and Mayhem for Fun and Profit. And it was about
That's a
writing. It
fun
was
name.
about writing. Yeah, it was
There's
about
probably
writing
some
stuff like
weirdos in
this.
that class there, right? Yeah, just
Oddly enough, it was mostly older people and mostly women.
ah,
They were writing murder mysteries and things of that nature. So I took the class, and the lady that taught it was fantastic. And it would be one of these things we would write and at home and then bring it to class, and we would talk, but we would read our work aloud, and then the teacher would comment, the other students would comment, and there
mm,
was a lot of great back and forth. And I remember, um, visual aid for this one. I remember, um, I was I would read because I was so terrified I couldn't look at the other people and read, and so I would read like this. And there was an older lady in the class, sweet as could be, and she and I became friends, and we would chit chat and all that. Well, she would sit beside me now, and so we're doing, and I would go like this, and I would feel this arm reach over and just do that, and she was incredibly strong, and she just kept putting my hand down, and eventually, just to get her to quit, I would read like this, and so that helped me get used to seeing people while I was talking to them.
Mm.
And then the other one that helped a lot is doing panels at conventions.
Mhm.
The earliest ones I did, there might be 4 or 5 people in the room. I do some now. Like I did one at DragonCon last year. There were easily 300 people in the room.
yeah,
Now it wasn't just me. There's a bunch of us up there but I can now speak in front of that many people without being terrified, or at least
yeah,
terrified on the outside. There's still butterflies. There's still again, that little voice in the back of my head goes, "Don't say anything stupid. These people are going to think you're an idiot. Don't say anything stupid." That's the same voice that does that when I do podcasts. Don't say anything stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But by and large, what I've learned too is when you're in those situations, like at a con, people want you to talk to them.
yeah,
Having a table, having my table with my books on, that is the great icebreaker.
Mm.
Because if someone comes to my table, that's I can just say, "Hi, how you doing? I'm Bobby. Please take a look." And now we've got something to talk about. The books are the icebreaker, and then we can just
yeah.
chat from there. And so those things helped me to get over that fear of yeah, making an ass of myself in front of people. So because I
But
am good at that, it is a skill that I am like have
you've
immensely well.
refined.
Yes, I can be stupid easy.
Oh, who can't? I mean, like, uh,
I think it's like super important though that you mentioned that because I think that more than anything, from a culmination of everything that you've spoken about right now, is that you're really selling yourself
Mhm.
first. and your book second.
Absolutely. You are your brand. People talk about
Hmm.
branding all the time. And a lot
Hmm.
of writers just do one thing. I am a crime writer. I am a sci-fi writer. I am a fantasy writer. I am not. I do all kinds of things. I do comics.
Hmm.
I do novels. I do my crime fiction. I started doing
Science
these on my
fiction.
own because nobody would hire me to write this stuff, and I wanted to. So I do sci-fi. I do media tie-in stuff. I get to write characters that I didn't create. Either from movies and TV or from other people's. Other creators have their company characters, and I get to write those, and some sci-fi, some horror, some western. I've done a lot. I'm in the process now of doing a personal project, which is just a straight up drama. I have never done
Mm.
straight up drama before, but this idea has been in my head. Actually, I have two of them in my head that are competing for which one gets done first. But I'm doing those around other stuff. So yeah, so the you is the as you are your brand. Your books are part of your brand, but you are your brand. And I nobody will take how's the best way to say this? If all you do is try to sell your books, people will tune you out. Like if
Mhm.
social media, if all you post are buy my book posts, people start to tune that out. That's why I do, like you mentioned earlier. I researched this today. And so I'm talking about working on the book, but I'm not trying to sell you anything. But what I'm hopefully doing is getting you interested in the book while I'm working on it. So when it goes on sale, you go, oh, that's the one he researched this on. So you talk, so I make it a point to talk about on a fairly regular basis the writing process. Hey, I had a good day in the writing office today. I think I'm going to take the night off, or you know, I'm
Yeah.
going to reward myself with or oh, I finished a book today. I'm so what a feeling, or that kind of stuff. So you're selling you as well, and this is me. I mean, there's not I don't fake a Bobby persona. Um, the public Bobby the public Bobby persona cusses less than regular Bobby. I do try to watch that at conventions. I try not to drop a lot of f bombs and things like that at conventions, and on podcasts and whatnot. But at home,
Yeah, it
different
comes
story.
comes out.
Yeah. So, but it's trying to be friendly. I remember early on in my career, so much stuff I learned again by screwing it up. I used to go into conventions with this preset number in my head. If I don't sell $100 worth of books, this show sucks. And I would go in with that
Mm.
thought. And I would be miserable because I'm not there. And what I realized later was that I was so intent on that it was making me unapproachable. So I'm actually
Oh.
sabotaging myself. I eventually learned, and I don't remember what precipitated it, but I eventually learned conventions, book signings, libraries, whatever I'm doing an event out, that is part of my marketing plan. If I
Yeah.
sell stuff, that's awesome. If I don't, then I go, okay, is it me or is it the event? But I don't go in with a preset number. I just go in with, let's just do what we do. Because sometimes people will come up to the table and they don't have money to buy anything. Because, hey, you guys have done conventions. You can go broke
Yeah.
Yeah.
really quick. But
Yeah.
everybody who comes by the table leaves with a card. They leave with the fact that they know that they can buy them these places if they want them. And sometimes they'll go their next paycheck and go, "Oh yeah, I really wanted that book," and they'll buy it.
Correct.
So, but also because I stopped worrying about sales, I started selling more because I was more approachable. And those are the kind of lessons I learned along the way that, I wish someone had taught me because, yeah, but yeah, so you try to make yourself that. I've had people come up to me at conventions. There's some local shows that I do all the time. Um, there's one show they do it 3 or 4 a year, and they've been doing them for like 32 years now. And I think I've missed 7 in 32 years.
Wow.
And And so I've had people come up to me and go, I see you at these things all the time. I should buy something. And I'm like, well, that's
Yeah,
good. I'll
I've
sell you
I've done
something.
that.
Yeah. There must be something to you. You've been hawking books for 30 years here. There must,
Yeah.
you've had a 30-year career. So yeah, so there's that. So you're selling yourself. You know, that ask me questions. And creators when people come up at shows and ask questions about writing and drawing and publishing or whatever, I make sure they go with a card. And it's like, look, if you have any more questions later, there's my contact. Just remind me where we met because I'm not going to remember. Terrible with names. I remember more people than I remember names. It's, but so I try to do that. I try to be open and helpful. I try to be what I wish somebody had been for me
Mm.
in those
Yeah.
early days. There was a short time where I was looking, especially right before Evil Ways came out, because novels were new. I had no, in that world, and I was looking for some kind of advice, someone to just go, look, kid, here's what you need to do, and I wasn't getting it, and I didn't know how to
Yeah.
find it,
Mm.
and because I didn't know anybody who did that sort of thing. Um, I don't come from an entertainment family or, so I didn't know people. So I didn't have, so a lot of it was guesswork. A lot of it was figuring it out on your own. A lot of it was screwing it up on your own. But so I was like, those were things where it's like, I wish I'd have had that. So now when I see when I see people, it's like, oh, I remember that look. They have questions. What do you want to
Yeah.
know? If I know the answer, I'll tell you. And I don't sugarcoat it. Because there are people that think, if you write, I'll do one book and I'll be rich because if you ever see, and I blame movies and
It's that
TV.
good of an idea.
Well, I blame movies and TV. If you ever see a published author in a movie or a TV show, they are filthy rich. They never seem to write anything, and they solve at least one murder a week. So I've never solved a murder. I'm not filthy rich, and I write every day. So obviously I'm doing something wrong.
You're not Nathan Fillion. That's the problem. It's like
Right. Nathan Fillion has autographed more books than I have as his character. But yeah, because I remember when they first put out the novels from the show, he was they sent him on a book tour as his character, and
character. Yeah.
he was signing books as his character, and I was like, jeez. But
to be able to have that, huh, Bobby?
I know, and like I said, I have a small following. I mean, I love every one of them. Happy to have them. And there are people that come up to me at conventions that there are people that I only see once a year at DragonCon, and they make it a point to come to my table, say hello, ask what's new. They'll pick up a few things, say it's been great. Yeah, we'll chit chat for a little bit, and they'll say we'll see you next year. And they, so it's nice. It's people are, you've cultivated those connections with people, and it's and you know what? And if those people come up, sometimes they come up and just we chit chat, and they don't buy anything. I don't get upset. It's like that's cool. It was still great to see them. I know they have been supportive, and I try not to take that for granted. It's because I know how hard it is to support people, creators you like. I can't. I used to try to buy everything all my writer friends put out, and I can go. I've been doing this long enough now. I can go broke doing that. So you can't support every project that everybody does, but I try to be supportive when I can, and and sometimes that support is just, hey, have you checked out this guy's book? Like
Yeah.
pointing people that like my stuff. If you like what I do, you might like, so and so's book as well. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of the writing community or the creative community. A lot is very open and supportive. A lot.
Mhm.
I've gotten writing jobs because someone else got approached and they're like, I can't do that. I don't have time, or I'm not the right guy for that, but I know a guy. And so they would introduce me, and I've done that for other people. And so, yeah, so there's a lot of that camaraderie in the writing community that's really nice. I don't see a lot of, you know, they don't look upon each other as competition all the time. There's a few that do, but most don't. Most are like, if that person sells a book, it doesn't hurt me. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's like a very big key to success is having that mentality in any kind of business, whether it's writing or like let's say you create comic books. Either way, I think the more that you promote everybody else around you, the more they promote you as well. So it's trying to lift everybody up, which is like a valuable message for society as a whole, right?
I know.
The
Wouldn't
more
that be
we lift
nice?
each other up, yeah, when in this utopian world that we created, the more we lift each other up, the happier everyone is around us, the more successful we all can be. Because really, there is only one evil ways. There is only one Bobby Nash, but there's something for everybody, right? And there's plenty of room to go ahead and appreciate that.
Yeah,
And oh yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that we do here, Bobby, and this is going to be a little bit in and out of your wheelhouse, because we like to play a little game called the Who or the How, right? So basically, you're the Who, and we get to figure out how much you know about something. Now, and you write a lot of like thriller novels and things like that, but we also mentioned like the whole kind of pulp fiction genre as well, which pulp is just kind of hot action kind of writing style, where it's not as much the action drives the character more than like the actual drama stuff. So that's kind of a reference of Pulp Fiction. But I loved Pulp Fiction, the movie. And I think you've seen Pulp Fiction, right?
I've seen Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Okay, and that was also like you was the little movie that could, right? So the thing is we're gonna go ahead and kind of do like a little trivia contest about Pulp Fiction, okay?
Okay.
Now the thing is I don't expect you to know every answer, but hopefully you'll know some. And for every right answer that you get a point. That point can be contributed and put into your Bitcoin wallet. Which if you have one, fantastic, because we don't even have Bitcoin. But it's the thought that counts. Remember, we're lifting each other up. So are you ready to play, Bobby?
Let's play.
All right, fantastic. Now, Pulp Fiction, even though it was a very popular, it wasn't the first film for Quentin Tarantino, but it was a very, very popular film that focused on Americana, right? A lot of visual images here. But was the film first released in America, or did it release somewhere else first?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I'm going to guess in America first, but I don't know that.
Actually, no, it wasn't released in America first. It was actually released in South Korea, Japan, and Slovakia first.
Wow.
Before it even arrived in America. So, yeah, so a lot of people probably didn't know that.
Was there? Do we know the reason? Was it because because it was a low budget thing? Maybe the American they didn't think the American audience was
ready for it.
Sometimes I know. Sometimes they,
yeah.
Because
no,
a lot of times
actually, what you're saying is true. Because they did a lot of the film festivals first. So because they were looking for just distributors. Reservoir Dogs was very, very low budget, and because of that,
my favorite of the Tarantino movies, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. it was the perfect kind of situation film, in the sense that it was all, if you look at it, it was all really kind of taking place in one situation, one place. It could have been a play,
It's a play. Yeah,
if it
it's
wasn't
like
for
a
the
play.
whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a play, and it's all character driven.
Yeah,
You
because
know.
if you took the flashbacks out, yes, it's absolutely a one
Mhm.
act or a one play. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Now, you mentioned how the real Bobby Nash is a bit of a sailor mouth. Um, you know, so, straight out of your words, Bobby.
All right.
But now, how many f bombs does Reservoir Dogs contain? And we could shoot close by. I mean, proximity.
Oh, there's got to be at least 100, 150. There's a lot
Okay,
of
so we were
there's
looking for 265 beautifully dropped f bombs
wow.
throughout. Now,
Because there's a lot of them in Reservoir Dogs. There's
now, just out of curiosity, do you know how many were dropped in Reservoir Dogs?
not a clue.
269. Only like a few more. So he does have a quota that he has to meet between dropping f bombs.
and it's a wonderful word too. Like because it can mean multiple things depending on how it's used.
Absolutely. George Carlin did a whole bit on that. How wonderful that word is.
There is a comic book. I can't remember what it was called now. It was a sci-fi. It was like a one shot. It was a sci-fi thing. It's kind of like a parody of like Star Wars and Star Trek and whatnot. But the only word used in it is the F word. But it's used in context. It means different things. But that's all. Like they come around the corner and there's the 100 stormtroopers. It means one thing.
Yeah.
Then over here they're running and it's a bunch of them like trailing them. It means something else. And when you read this book, you know exactly what's going on, but it's just the one word. That's the only word they say. That entire book. And it was awesome. I wish I could find it because I don't own it. I'd seen a friend's copy, and I was like, I'm going to get that one day, and I've never found another copy. But it was awesome.
Well, and something to look out for. I mean, maybe on eBay, you can find anything on eBay nowadays.
Just about, unless you really want it.
Yeah, right. Now, I don't know if you remember, but Vincent Vega, John Travolta's character, drove a very classic.
Vincent Vega. You got to say it like that.
Vincent Vega. Right. He drove a 1964 Chevy Malibu, absolutely gorgeous car. In the film, what happened to that car after they were done shooting? It's actually quite a little popular little side story there. Do you know what happened to his car?
Outside
of the movie. After it was done.
I have no idea.
Vincent Vega, sweet ride, was actually stolen right after the shoot.
Oh.
Yeah. So and it actually belonged to Quentin Tarantino, and it was stolen right after the film's release, and it took them about 20 years to actually find it.
That's good. Why they found it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, they found it because of the VIN, but there wasn't much left of it, so it was actually stripped down. But classic little movie fact.
Yeah. Do we know if they stole it because it was a movie car or just because it was a cool car?
I'm pretty sure it was a cool car.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found it in like on the streets there in Oakland, California.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it met some chop shop somewhere there.
So it wasn't one of those things where somebody's cut it up and they're selling like own a square of the
going on trading cards, right?
Yeah.
You've seen those, right?
Yeah, because you've seen where they do that with like costumes. They'll cut it up and there's like a little square and it's like own a square of such and such's costume. And so,
well, we got to do that. We're going to take that shirt later, Bobby, and we're going to go ahead and cut it up, and we'll start selling Chimichanga Talk cards with ethical, pieces of authentic. Yes.
Yeah. I should do that with some of the ones I've worn in movies, and it's like, hey,
Hey, yeah, this is exactly.
because I've ruined a shirt or two.
Yeah,
There was one I did
what was the name of
a horror
what was
movie
it?
years.
Yeah, it was called like wasn't it called like I think because they changed the title of it.
Yeah, it was Fat Chance. It was Fat Chance to
Fat
begin with,
Chance. There you
and
go.
they changed it to Camp Massacre,
There you go. That's what
which
it
was
was.
which is a less interesting title, but they were afraid people would take umbrage at the word fat being in the title. But
Yeah.
it was murders at like a Biggest Loser type
Hmm.
competition. And it was a comedy. It was a comedy horror. So actually it was more
Yep.
comedy than horror. And the distributor took most of the comedy out. and they
Yeah. Yeah.
and so but we had shirts they made shirts up. The fictional game show was called By the Pound. And so we
Hmm.
have and I actually still have mine. I had the By the Pound shirts. So I have two of them. I have my clean one, and I have the one that's splattered in blood after I get murdered.
Blood. Yeah.
And so yeah, that was so much fun. That was my first speaking role. It was also my first death scene, so it was really cool. I had a lot of fun with that, and we filmed my part. I filmed over a week because I'm one of the first people murdered. I think I'm like the second or
Mhm.
third victim. Um, and we filmed for like a week. I filmed for a week. They were still filming after I left, and we were in Alabama. We filmed in September, but that year it was so hot. It was like 96 degrees. We're running around in the woods and doing fight scenes, and we filmed in this cabin that GPS couldn't find.
Oh boy.
Like we
Yeah,
had
that
the
cabin looked extremely questionable.
yeah, it was a
Uh,
hunting cabin it was owned by someone in the county government, like a county commissioner or and so there's it had electricity, but that was about all it had. And so we're filming at this cabin, and we walk into it for the first time, and we go into the room. We're going to do this big scene where we're all together. There's one scene where we're all together before things happen, and so we walk in, and hanging from the ceiling, I guess if you shoot and miss, you have to like cut the part of your shirt off and hang it. And so there's all these dried pieces of cloth hanging from the ceiling that have been there for so long it looks like dried leather. And and in a horror movie setting, it looks like skin hanging it was so it was a very it wasn't hard to act like we're in a terrifying location because it was a terrifying location. But it was hot and the bugs and but again, that's one of those lifelong friend type of situations.
yeah.
We had so much fun, laughed and cut up, and just especially around working, laughed and cut up and had so much fun that even now, it's been what 10, 12 years later.
Hmm.
Whenever I run across those guys, we laugh and it's just that was so much fun. I wish the movie had done better, had gotten a better, because I think people went in looking at Camp Massacre expecting just feel full out horror, and then they get
Yeah,
there and
and
they're
it
surprised by all the comedy.
yeah,
And
it was really campy and but it was a lot of it's a fun film. It's the type of kind of like 80s comedy horror film, and I would say it would be what Heavyweights. Did you ever see the movie
mhm,
Heavyweights from Disney? It would
no,
be like what Heavyweights would be if it just went classically wrong.
right, yeah,
And
and
you know,
it was very much their intent. I mean, we were told we're making a
yeah,
comedy horror. Comedy was always like comedy horror, and
yeah.
it was there's a lot of physical comedy in this.
Hmm.
You see the montages of us trying to, because I wasn't one of the contestants at first. My character worked on the crew, and so I
Hmm.
worked for the director, and I'm following her around all the time. And then one of the guys who gets picked for the show is not overweight, He's one of those guys that, I just need to lose 10 pounds. And so they kick him out. And so they're like, oh, well, now we're down one guy. And the host goes, what about that fat guy over there? And so suddenly
Yeah.
I'm in the show, which makes me a target then. And so, but there's a lot of physical, there's a lot of running and falling and overplaying, like very exaggerated bits. I remember there's one bit we did, we're running down, it's a dirt road. We were filming part of this in a park. And there's a dirt road, so it's dirt and gravel, and there's a ditch, and we're running, and I'm supposed to trip and fall, and the drill instructor is blah, 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 and then one of the guys comes up behind me and is supposed to help me up, and it's like, you got to get up, this guy's gonna eat you alive. So we go, and we're a bunch of fat guys running 96 degrees, and we're running, and I was supposed to fall on a certain word. But I told the director, I'm like, look, I'm wearing shorts and this is nothing but rocks. I'm going to fall right here. I don't care what word he says. I'm going to fall right here. Is that okay? Because that's the one place that's not rocks. And he goes, no problem. And so the first take, we're, and we're exaggerating like we've been running for miles at this point. They've slathered like sweat on us, and we're, and I get to my spot, and I trip, I did it so I hit one foot, hit the other, and and my knee goes into the dirt. And that was the plan. And so I do this, and the guy behind me whose job is to come by and just scoop me up and say, let's keep going, stops and goes, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, what? He goes, you fell. I'm like, I was supposed to fall. It's called acting. He goes, well, damn, that was really good. So then we had to do it again. So I fell multiple times, but it's a great scene. It looks good, I got to fight the killer. I had a fight scene. It was awesome. I of course die, because I'm not the star of the show. I die. And then they find me. The last scene I shot on the last night, it was like 2 a.m. And the last scene I shot, they find my body days later. So they've kind of whited and grayed me out, so my skin is, so it's like 3 a.m. when I wrap. I'm like, that's it. That's all for Bobby. And I'm like, great, I'm going home. Well, I couldn't wash, like the makeup wouldn't wash off easily. And it took a couple days for it to kind of go away. I drove from Alabama to Atlanta, like leaving at 3 a.m, like looking like a dead guy. So I wonder what people that passed me going the other way, when the headlights hit the front of the car, what they're thinking. Because I'm all like
caught some mythos.
Out.
You got found a mythos somewhere.
Yeah. And this was like heavy during the Walking Dead era. This was So that's hilarious.
That was a busy couple of weeks for me, because I did Dragon Con. Dragon Con ended on Monday, and on Tuesday I drove to Alabama, spent a week in Alabama, then drove home and had another convention that week. So it was like for 2 weeks I was just, but it was like the most fun I could have had. I just had a ball, and like I said, we had a great time. We had a blast. My buddies Daniel and Jim wrote a funny movie.
Yeah.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, made some great friends. There are some people who are, there were some big names who came in and did like 1-day bits on it. And I remember one of the guys said, because Dick Warlock is in it for a short bit, and they're like, "Hey, we're now 2 degrees from Kevin Bacon, like in that game, because they were both in Nightmare on Elm Street." And I was like, "Hey, wait! I win that game. I was in the following of Kevin. I'm in the same scene with Kevin Bacon. Look at this picture. That's me and Kevin Bacon on screen together. I win."
Well, that's always Bobby for you
all the time. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've met Kevin Bacon. I was in a scene with him. I win.
You're the ringer. So
That's it.
basically, if
Yes,
we ever
yeah.
need a win when we're playing 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, we got to get Bobby in here.
That's right. Because anybody that's worked with me now can say I am I am 2 degrees.
Yeah. I'm
And
2 degrees away from Kevin Bacon right now.
right.
So's Juju. So
Yeah. So there you go. See, yeah, it's he was a really cool guy. I dug watching him work. He was fantastic. And he's.
yeah,
Do you have time for a Kevin Bacon story? It's a short one.
sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Let's do
Because
it.
I know I've gone over time. Sorry, I
You're
do
fine.
that.
You're fine.
So
You're fine. No worries.
we're working on the following. We're doing the pilot. It was a TV show he had that was on Fox or something several years ago. And I'm playing an FBI agent. So I'm in a suit and a tie. I've got credentials with my face on them. I've got a gun badge. I got the badges on the credentials are clipped to my pocket. The badge is around my neck. At one point, I had the badge on my belt, but we ended up putting them around our neck so you could see them better because we're wearing suits and jacket. And so we've got a gun, just the whole thing. You know, it's a real gun, but it's not loaded. But it's a real gun. We never pull our guns, you know. But
Mhm.
and so I'm playing an FBI agent, so I'm all over it. So we do 2 days in the command center for the task force, which was filmed in an empty grocery store. Which that's what it was in the show too. They just said, "Hey, we've taken over this empty grocery store and turned it into a command center." So there's desks and whiteboards and chalkboards and monitors that are on rolling things, so they can roll it and make it look bigger than it is. You know,
Mhm.
depending on which way they're filming. And so I'm doing stuff all over the sets, but we're filming this bit where we're interviewing all of the cult leaders' women. Because the cult leader had all these women who would do whatever for him. And so we are interviewing them because he has escaped from prison and we're trying to find him. And so we're interviewing all these women. So we're here on the back of the set. Kevin and all the other actors are over here. And so the difference between a movie and a TV set, when you're in a movie and they yell cut, the actor goes to their trailer until they're ready for them. In TV, they go over there, you know, because it's quicker.
They
You
stand
know,
in the corner. Yeah.
right. It doesn't take an hour between setups. It's like, okay, we got to change something great. It's going to take 5-10 minutes tops. So they all go sit over there. So they're doing some change ups. The actors are sitting, you know, over there 10 feet away, maybe 15. We're still over here at the desks as we're out of the way. So we're just all still sitting where we were working. And so while we're in this break, the women start talking about Kevin Bacon. And apparently, Kevin Bacon might be a method actor because at this point in the show, he doesn't want to be there. He's very grumpy. And so he has appeared very grumpy. But I guess we're at the scene now where that's over and he's into it and, you know, working and all
Mhm.
this stuff. So, but the women are talking about Kevin Bacon because we can see him sitting right over there. And it, the conversation turns to these women talking about how good he looks and how pretty he is and he's this and he's that and I just look over and I was like, you know, he can hear you, right? No, he doesn't. I'm like, I'm telling you, he can hear you. You guys need to. But they're gushing over him. I mean, and so every time they had walked back to set, like I said, they were sitting over there and they would just walk straight back to set. They didn't come where we were. They were just over. And so they keep on. And I'm like, I'm telling, especially this one woman was really loud. I'm like, he can hear you. And she was just like, no, 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 no. So they call him back to set and Kevin Bacon gets up, walks right to us. And as he passes us, he winks at her. And I thought she was going to pass out. And then when she kind of gets her breathing under control, I went, told you so. So yeah, so that's my funny Kevin Bacon is that he was just so playful with them because he could have just ignored them. He
Yeah.
could have got upset about it. He just he knows the effect he has on people, and he just played into it. And again, when you people watch, that's the good kind of thing. You're like, you know what? If I'm ever in this position, learn from that. You know. And so yeah, so that was hilarious, and that moment just sticks out with me. But he was cool. Like I said, I worked on that for 3 days, and I got to just speak to him very briefly, and he was very nice, and yeah, very fun
That's
time.
That's awesome. And Bobby, we're going to go ahead and be sharing links down below so that way everyone can go ahead and have access to your website, or they can definitely join your Patreon, get easy access to you and to a lot of your wonderful stories and things that are to come. Also, I know that we didn't touch upon the fact that you like to draw as well, and when you go ahead, and I know that I've seen this because personal friend, when you go ahead and get certain orders, sometimes you draw little things just to make the package a little bit more personal, a little bit more interesting. I absolutely love that. So guys, if you do order a book from Bobby, get it autographed, and you might get a little drawing as well. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think that's actually like what they talk about, selling your brand,
Yeah,
right?
I started doing that just because I love to draw, and nobody ever, it's rare I get high. Nobody like goes, Bobby, we love your art. But I started doing it when I first started the Patreon as a giveaway. Once a month, I would I would pick from one of the patrons and send them a free piece of art. I would draw something.
Mm.
After a while, I quit doing that because after they get 2 or 3 from you, that it's not as impressive anymore.
Yeah, it's
Um, it's not special anymore. But when I started the store, I decided I'll start. I'll doodle something on the envelopes, and it became a thing. It was not intended to. It was just a little cutesy thing. Then I would take photo again. It's part of the brand. I take photos. I sent a package out. I drew this on the package, and it became a thing where I actually had someone come. Said, "Hey, I really want some envelope art, so I'm going to buy a book so you'll draw on my envelope." It's like, okay. So they don't really care
yeah.
about the book. They just want the art.
He just wanted the art.
Okay. And so I was doing that, and I started out just doing little quick black and white sketches. But I figured if it's going to be a thing, they should look better. So I started practicing, and I started adding color. So I've learned what works for me is I do these pencil sketches, and then I color it. And then I put the black on top. And so I can do those, and they're not fancy. They're headshots, head and shoulder shots of characters.
Mhm.
Um, and most of the time it's like I don't I just do what I feel like doing. Sometimes if I know the person, then that's a different thing. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much, and I don't sell a lot through my store. So one day I'm in Michael's, and they had blank bookmarks, a pack of 50. So I bought a pack of 50. I said, this will be fun. It'll be something that shows. I'll do a few of these until I get bored with it. And then, but it was never intended to be it wasn't intended to be a thing. And again, I took photos. Hey, I drew some stuff tonight. Look at these bookmarks I did. And I put them on social media. Somebody comes back, are those for sale? They are
Mhm.
now. Last night, I am 3 away from my 1100th bookmark.
Wow.
I can keep track because they come 50 to a package. So yeah, so like number 1000 was a big deal. I had like that one. I fretted over it more than any of the others. For my 1000th bookmark, I did Linda Carter Wonder Woman in the swimsuit from like here
Mm.
up, which is cool. I enjoyed that. But it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of I started out with comic characters and cartoon characters, and I'm now practicing doing real people. I mean, we're talking Pulp Fiction. I did a Jules and Vincent bookmarks,
Mhm.
which I was very proud of. That it looked enough like them that people saw it and knew, you know,
Right away what
um,
it was. Yeah.
yeah, knew it was them. And so I do a lot of that, and it's fun. And I do sketches for people, and I do door hangers in addition to the bookmarks, and I sell them at shows, or people can buy them through my site too. But I sell mostly at shows, and people just it's another one of those things that brings people to the table. So while they're sitting there
Mhm.
flipping through 900 bookmarks, trying to find a character that speaks to them, I can talk to them about the books or about the creative process of doing the bookmarks, or so you've got them there to talk to them and get them to get them interested in what you're doing, and so yeah, so they're fun and I enjoy it, and it it's kind of a relaxing thing too because I'm not doing these for a publisher or anything. So if I screw something up, can't screw something up. I'm doing it for my benefit primarily, and then if somebody wants them, that's great. But if somebody doesn't want them, that's great too. I'm doing them more for my personal enjoyment. So I draw characters I like. I sometimes try other characters, or sometimes I'll get requests and I'll do something. Um, and then I sell them at shows. Sometimes when I did the Kickstarter for the Snow Omnibus or the Sheriff Myers collection, people that bought one, I threw one in, you know, as a bonus. I'm going to give you an original art, bookmark. And so sometimes they're that. Somebody comes and buys, 10 books. I'll throw you in a, original art piece or two. It's a little bonus. It's a little, and it's just fun. And I enjoy doing it because I spend my days murdering people, in fiction, planning murders and plotting destruction and death. And that's my day. And then at night I draw, silly pictures of G.I. Joe and Scooby Doo to get the murder out of my
the
head.
yin yang, right? You want to
Yeah.
balance it out.
Yeah. I can go draw like, Scooby Doo and Spider-Man, like Skellington, and it's like it lifts some of the
The
murderous.
balance of the universe is all kind of like
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
back in balance.
Yeah, because depending on what I'm working on during the day, I'm plotting murders and thefts and shooting people, stabbing people in books. I'm writing those type of things all the time. So it's nice to do something sweet and wholesome and kid friendly.
Decompress a little. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. And it's I I am not good at sitting around doing nothing. I like even when I watch TV, I get fidgety and I can't sit still. And so what I'll do is on the nights where there's nothing on, that I when I sit and I draw these while I'm watching TV, I'll turn on something I've seen before. And so I'll like binge whatever program. I've seen it, so I don't have to watch it,
Yeah.
and I can draw
It's
and
just
I
it's
can just
just there.
I know what it is when I see it, I can look up and watch for a second so I'm not staring. And whereas if it's something I've never seen before, I'm more focused on it. So it's hard to draw doing that. But yeah, I'll pop on like an old favorite and it's like I'll listen to for an hour or two and I'll draw and so it's just fun. It's relaxing. And the fact that other people enjoy it has been just a nice bonus. And so yeah, so they're fun.
Absolutely.
I enjoy them. Yeah. But it's also given me the what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of convinced me to try something. I'm I wrote some short stories for a newspaper in South Georgia. One of those monthly where it's got all the ads for the local businesses, with coupons and they put that out
Yeah.
once a month with this paper. And so they hired me to write a 12-part story that runs down the middle of this paper. And so at the end, it's one story, 12 chapters. And then I'm on my second one now. So I've done 12 chapters for a second story. It's a pulp character, Lance Star, that I own. So it's a pulpy thing. And so at the end of the day, the 12 chapters, it's really just a short story broken up over 12 small chapters. I am a huge fan of storybooks. You remember the old like square bound where it was art and like a short story? I'm going to turn that into a storybook. And so I'm doing the art to put in the book. And so I
Nice.
am doing that. And so doing the bookmarks and stuff has got me to a point where I'm comfortable enough to at least attempt it.
Well,
Hopefully
that's
they'll come
good.
out nice. But yeah, it's but other than that, I mean, I have a couple pieces in the new Zorro anthology. My editor contacted me and she says, I love these bookmarks you're doing. I need a couple of art pieces.
Nice.
I drew like 6. They used 2. So yeah, so I got to draw Zorro professionally, which is cool. Just cool to
Wow.
say. I got to
That's
write
really
Zorro.
cool.
I got to draw Zorro. That's awesome. So yeah, so playing with the media tie-in stuff is just it's cool because you get to do those. I get to play with those characters I grew up reading or watching. You know, Zorro. I got to write the Lone Ranger. I got a Green Hornet coming. I did Kolchak the Night Stalker. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
these are things that in our wheelhouse. You know, those are you know those are
Those are like
awesome. You
big
know,
deals. Yeah.
yeah, and
Long,
like you
long
know,
existing characters. Yeah.
yeah. And like I said, and I've had other opportunities to pitch stuff, whether I got it or not. Like I did get to pitch an X Files. I didn't get in the book, but the opportunity to write an X Files pitch was there, so I did that.
That's cool.
The one book that I couldn't do in that month, I got to write the pitch. It was a Black Panther novel, and I hated that I had to turn that down. You know, because this was
That's
right before
cool.
they were filming the movie at the time, so the movie hadn't even come out yet. But it was, yeah, it was. But I just, you know, it's like I can't do it, and you know, it's like, you know, and they're like, well, we'll keep you in mind for something else, and then you know, nothing else ever happened. But that's, you know,
No, you never know.
yeah,
It's
and
still yet to
and
be seen.
yeah, and then you know, and there's only you know what once you do this long enough, you know what you can do in a day.
Mhm.
And realistic. I killed myself early in my career. I wrote a novel once in 3 months and nearly killed myself doing it. And I was like, yeah, never again.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
you know,
crazy.
yeah, because it just you know, there's no need for that. You know, at the end of the day, you know, yeah, I'm not like you know solving world hunger. I'm not curing cancer. You know, I'm writing a story. It takes what it takes to do it. I mean, you know, and so yeah, it's you know,
You
I like
take
to think we're
Work on your
helping.
craft.
you
Yeah, I
take
like to
people
think
out of
we're helping. I mean,
take them out of reality and bring them to a little fictional
yeah,
world. I mean, sure, there's a little murder, but you
Mhm.
know what? It's a fake murder. It's not a real person. So who's
but you
hurt?
know what? When people come up to my table, that's one of the things I is part of my selling technique. It's like, well, when I'm talking about, oh, well, these are all like crime thrillers and what I murder a lot of people in these books, and almost everybody goes, oh, that's cool, I love that. So it's you know, so it's a world full of
Yeah.
psychopaths like me that you know, but yeah, it's but yeah, it's but I think too. I mean, you know, over over the past few years, I mean, we suffered through. People are stuck at home for a couple of
Mhm.
Yeah.
years and couldn't get out, and there were no conventions. And I know a lot of creative people were doing things like you know virtual panels like we're doing here. You know,
Mhm.
I did a
Mhm.
panel here on Discord. Some panels for a convention that just went was like we're just going to do a virtual convention. And I noticed a lot of creators were getting on and it's like, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read a chapter a week from my book, or I'm going to read a short story free. And people were just doing it just to give people something,
Something to do.
something
Something.
new.
Yeah.
Right. Because there was no new TV happening. There was, you know, there weren't a lot of books coming out at that. I mean, because everything just kind of stopped. And
Yeah.
so creativity was the creative community, and not just writers, artists were doing watch me sketch. Singers were doing concerts from their living room for
Yeah.
people.
Mm.
There was a lot of that restored my faith in humanity to a point. That
Yeah.
there were some, that there were you know there were a lot of people that weren't so nice, but there were a lot of people that were doing whatever they could, and there was no thought of I'm doing this to make money. People were just doing it because there was a need,
Mm.
Yeah.
and I love the fact that what's grown out of that is things like video podcasts or virtual conventions, virtual panels have not stopped. There are a
Yeah.
few groups that I do stuff with on a regular basis. Some are about like we're talking here about writing and creating or whatever. I do some it's like, "Hey, tonight we're going to talk about Batman." Great. You know, and those have continued even though now people can go out to conventions and stuff like that. I love the fact that we're able to reach this bigger audience with stuff like this. And
Mhm.
it's fun and and hey, I don't have to drive. You know,
That's the best part. Yeah.
and I can wear my sweatpants and t-shirt to this, and so it's you know, but yeah. So there's a
A
lot
little
of
class, Bobby. A little class, please.
well, yeah. Well, I put on a clean shirt and comb my hair, So we're
Exactly.
but but it's nice. So those things were positives that came out of
Mhm.
this creative, that creatives were doing stuff to let's get the work out there. And I'm glad to see it continues. I do a lot of things like that. Like was part of a library book tour where I was doing this at school libraries and public libraries where they would put me on the screen in the library. I couldn't see them, but they could see me.
Yeah.
And the students would ask questions, and the teacher would relay the questions to me, and then I would answer the questions and we would talk. And so I was talking to people that I would probably not have been able to before because I just can't drive out. I can't fly to Nevada just to do a 1 hour panel and fly back.
Yeah.
So I was able to, and I'm doing them all over the world, And so that was really cool that stuff like this is giving us a chance
The
to,
opportunity.
yeah, to talk to people that have never seen me. Because in my physical travel, it's rare these days because my personal situation. I don't leave the South very often.
Yeah.
Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, but mostly just Georgia, because I have to go home at night. So I'm not staying.
Yeah.
So I can't like go to California for a week like I used to and do a convention and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Mhm.
But stuff like this allows me to reach a
Other
larger audience, which
A
is
audience.
awesome.
wider
Yeah,
audience.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Because like you guys probably, when you see people that watch your show, you see people in other countries, and you're like, how
Oh
did they
yeah.
find you?
We
You know, it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
whenever,
I was surprised. I was looking at statistics the other day. We have like fans in Australia
yeah,
and like South America, and I was like, well, se habla español, pero it's like, no, we appreciate it. But yeah, Bobby,
and
thank you so
you
much for
wonder how
coming
they
on here.
find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh, it's
yeah,
my
no, no,
pleasure.
that's the thing. It's like they just communicate because we share enough to kind of share with everybody, like you said. It's all about sharing, what you know with the world, lifting everybody else up. So, but yeah, no, Bobby, thank you so much for being on here.
Oh, my
Um,
pleasure. It's great to be back. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah,
it,
we've
it's been a while, and we got to have you back again, especially like when your bookmarks start taking more off and you start like, especially since you're going to go ahead and be illustrating, hopefully,
Yeah.
right, your own set of books. I mean, that would be absolutely fantastic.
I
Do
would
you have a
show
piece
you,
of
but
art there?
well, they're no longer within arm's reach. Hang on a second. I think they're right here. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I cleaned off my desk, so everything's like not at arm's reach anymore. But I do. I don't have the finished ones, but like here were some of the Zorro sketches,
Oh, that's
and so
cool.
they had to approve from the sketches, and then I drew, and those are in the convention uh, packet that's in my car because I show them off at shows. But I also do like little comic strips. Like I used to do these
Hmm.
for a newspaper. They're very family friendly. So I started doing some new ones recently. So those were fun. But here are, and you guys are the first ones to have seen these. Here
No.
are some of the ones from the storybook.
Mm.
Oh,
Uh,
that's cool.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
these are just
nice.
some like like the top ones. Definitely a story piece. These are just some uh, giving you from the location. Here are
Yeah.
some of the characters.
Okay. Okay.
Here's some more. Uh, like that's a map on the wall, and then this is the guy working on the plane after they got shot down. Um, oh, that made me just realize I forgot to put the mustache on him there. I gotta fix that.
Good shape for that.
Here are our main characters flying. Yes. And then here's Lance, our main guy. Oh yeah, so that's what I've done so far. There's still a bit more to do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to putting them. I love the storybook format. I'm a big fan. So I've been wanting to do one for years, and so I'm going to give it a go. Hopefully people will like it. We'll see.
Oh, we definitely, and we're rooting for you there, Bobby.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And guys, remember, as always, you can find us every Sunday. We're releasing a new episode of Chimichanga Talk. It was an absolute pleasure. I am Deadpool Speaks. That is Bad Juju. And we've been working and talking with the absolutely amazing Bobby Nash. Bobby Nash, give him a bow.
Yes,
Well, you don't have to give him a bow.
It's don't hit your head.
Pose. Oh, yeah.
There you go. Show us that beautiful, luscious hair that you still have.
Right, it's all there. Yes.
Fantastic.
So
thank you, guys.
This was fun.
Go
Thanks
ahead.
so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
No,
it was
thank you,
amazing.
Bobby. All right.
All right.
You have a wonderful time.
You guys can call this your double episode because I know I talked like an hour
2-part.
longer than we were supposed to.
No.
I mean, a 2-part,
you're
y'all get us
good,
more
Bobby.
money.
Part 1, part 2. Welcome back. So happy to be back. There you go. There's your intro for
Yeah, there's the intro for
There
part
you
2.
There you go.
Like, wait, you're wearing the same clothes.
No, we're
still-
not.
Yeah, we do that. Well, I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I don't, really change my outfit much. So,
Once you split out of it.
yeah, once I sweat out of it, yeah, it's always a convention game with me is how many shirts I'll go through in one day. So,
For me, I wear like t-shirts all the time, so it's just a matter of what color t-shirt I'm wearing that day.
yeah. put your number in the pot. Let's go ahead and see who could win a bookmark. Guess what color shirt Bobby's going to wear today. Awesome.
Hey, if
Bobby,
you guys
thank
want to
you
do
so
a
much.
contest, let me know. I will donate a bookmark if you want to give one away to one of your listeners.
All right.
Oh,
In the
wow,
US,
yeah,
I
that'd be
can't
great.
I can't afford to send them to South Africa. But if somebody in
No.
the US,
But we can figure out something.
We're not going to ask you to be USAD. Don't worry about that. We're good. we're good here. Don't worry. No, absolutely. I think that would be amazing.
That'll be fun.
Just to kind of get your art out there and everything else. Yeah.
yeah.
That'll be a fun one. Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
that's
Since I stick it in an envelope, they'll probably get a little doodle in the envelope too.
double.
Sweet. Double win.
All
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
well, you guys
appreciate you,
figure out
Bobby.
how you want to give one away. Let me know, and we'll give one away.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Sweet.
So
I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot you a message on Facebook and see how we can go ahead and do that.
Yeah,
What were you
absolutely.
saying, Juju?
no, I was gonna say that's gonna be fun. So if you're watching this right now, if you watched through the whole video and you made it to the end, there's
Oh,
it's
this little
coming.
secret portion at the end of the
Secret
video.
portion.
Okay, there you go. It's like after the
it's like-
clips.
yeah.
there
You
you go.
can't. You were supposed to watch it, and since you're watching, now you know. Keep an eye
And
on
There
it.
you go.
Yeah. What's the secret code word of the day?
Oh yeah, secret code word. Let's see. Hurry, think of something.
Bookmark.
Bookmark.
Wow,
Zanzibar.
Bookmark.
Zanzibar. I like
Zanzibar,
that.
yeah.
Zanzibar.
All right.
we did that one. We did that one when I used to co-host a podcast, and we would do once a month. We would do live, or we would record it live at a comic shop, and we would bring people in, and we'd have an audience, and we were in this one, and so we would also interview the people that owned or ran the comic shop. It's kind of promotion for them. And I remember we were in one time, and the guy goes, "And if you're listening to this podcast, and you come in and tell me you were listening to this podcast, we will give you a 25% off discount on one item if you come in and say the word Zanzibar."
Zanzibar.
So now when somebody says, "What's the secret word?" It's the first thing that pops into my head is Zanzibar.
Zanzibar.
Zanzibar. So if you're watching this part, let's say just comment on the Facebook post or here. Boom.
There
Entered.
you go.
We'll go. Yeah, there we go. And we'll pick a winner.
We'll pick a winner
Yes.
sometime.
And when you say it, tell us your favorite character, and I'll try to send you a bookmark with your favorite character.
Boom.
Provided it's one I can
Promotion.
draw.
Whoever you can draw. Yeah.
If not, it'll look somewhat like the character.
Yes,
Yeah.
it might be a caricature of the character. Yes,
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you for listening this week, and remember, just like always, we will be back next week with another great guest and more adventures from the land of Chimichanga Talk. So tune in next time, same Deadpool time, same Deadpool channel.